Painting outside has become essential to my process. But sometimes it's hard to find energy and time to go out and paint. So what I do is have a go bag, meaning everything I need to go outside and paint is in this backpack. There are days when I'm a little more anxious or just really tired, but I know that I want to go out and paint, even just for 10 or 15 minutes. So having a backpack full of stuff ready to go at any moment, I keep it right by my door, sometimes even in my car. This really encourages me to go outside more often, and I learn so much when I paint from life, and it's just become my greatest joy. So today I'm going to show you some stuff that I keep in my backpack, as well as a couple alternate setups that I sometimes take with me. So you guys ready? Let's go. In some of my recent videos, I've shared my process for painting outside, and I often get questions about all the various materials I use. So in this video, I will share a few of my favorite setups and talk about how they each support my artistic goals. Because here's the thing. I'm the kind of artist who gets bored doing one single thing for too long, and I love exploring a variety of mediums. But that presents a challenge in itself, because oftentimes when I switch between mediums, I also need to change my setup. So over the years, I've found ways to help myself get over some of the hurdles that come with painting outside and try to make it as easy as possible for myself. Let's face it, it's hard enough to try to paint from life, capturing the moving light and the changing colors. So when the inspiration strikes to go outside, the last thing I need is to be fumbling around looking for my supplies. I just need everything ready to go at a moment's notice. Okay, let's start with my primary setup, meaning everything I like to bring with me on almost a daily basis. So this is my go-to setup when I'm painting outside. At this time in my life, I am heavy into drawing with various mediums, painting with watercolor and gouache, and sometimes ink. And my goal with this setup is to have a little bit of everything. At first, it might sound like that's crazy, that's going to be way too much, but let me show you. It's actually very manageable, and it means that when I'm outside, if the mood strikes for any one particular medium, it's right there ready to go. First things first, don't ever leave home without sunscreen or snacks. I also keep a rag or a paper towel, and I end up using that multiple times. This foldable, waterproof, and thermal seat has saved my butt so many times, literally. A lot of times I'm walking or hiking for miles before I find a spot to paint, so I don't want to be carrying around a big chair, even if it's one of those camping chairs, because that gets heavy after a while. My backpack isn't anything fancy. In fact, I think it was like 15 pounds on sale when I bought it, and now it's discontinued. But I actually have a couple options for backpacks. If I'm taking my camera gear with me and filming my drone scenes, I usually bring my other, more professional camera backpack, which can also fit a lot of art supplies in it. I use a really cheap bamboo brush roll to protect my brushes, but also to make sure I can find them really easy when I'm outside painting. And my brushes are constantly changing, so I'll throw whichever ones I feel like using that day into my brush roll before I go out. And the same kind of goes for my drawing utensils. I like to keep at least one of each, so a pencil, a pen, a brush, a white marker, or possibly a brush pen or something similar. I bought 2 of all of my favorite drawing utensils, so I can always have one in my bag and one in the studio. I also keep a couple clips or clamps in my backpack because I like to fold my pages over or hold them together when it's really windy. This next one might be a little less known. It's called a viewfinder, and it's used to help you narrow down a composition. And I like to use it mostly when I'm doing urban sketching because it seems a lot more complicated. So I just raise it up and kind of move it around until I settle on a composition that I really like. Okay, now onto the fun stuff. Let's talk about paint and palettes. Now this is like the most personal thing ever, so take it with a grain of salt. And I am not sponsored by any companies, so all of my recommendations come from years of exploration and practice and trying a ton of different setups. And I can honestly say that ever since I started using the portable painter and the portable painter micro, my plein air experience has gotten so much better, and here's why. I move around a lot when I paint outside. I sometimes sit down for a minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or over an hour. It totally varies depending on the weather and my location and just what I'm out there for. Sometimes I'm just taking quick little color notes or looking at specific shapes, and then I move on to the next site. And so I need a setup that is very, very portable. I've done the whole easel thing and the pochade box thing, and I'll actually show you my preferred pochade box setup a little later, but for the most part, I need something super portable. And these little portable painters are aptly named. They are so incredibly fast and easy to set up, and they weigh almost nothing, and so it makes the whole experience a lot more approachable for me. It honestly takes me more time to find a spot to sit and to get all my stuff out of my bag than it does to set up my portable painter and start painting. I'll put some links in the description if you want to see my unboxing and first impressions painting video with this and just get some more insights about it. And what I look for in a gouache setup is very similar to my watercolor setup. It needs to be lightweight, very quick and easy to set up. And after tons and tons of experimentation, I've finally found a setup that I really like. Y'all might remember me using this airtight watercolor palette box for my gouache. And there was a time when this was the perfect setup for me because I used more colors in a single painting. Nowadays, I only paint with a limited palette, and there are a lot of reasons for that, which I talk about in plenty of my videos. So this palette box is majorly overkill for me. In addition, it's just a lot of maintenance that I don't want to deal with. So instead, I just bring 5 to 8 tubes of gouache with me and use it fresh from the tube, which is so ideal for the way I like to use gouache. But of course, I need something to mix the gouache on, which is where this little palette comes in. This is just 2 pieces of plastic that fit together to make an airtight palette. If you want to, you can add a stay wet sponge and palette paper, but I just mix straight on the plastic. Because as I mentioned, I like to move around a lot, so I'm never really in one spot long enough to need the sponge and paper. So another thing that changes a lot are my sketchbooks. I am constantly trying new sketchbooks, new papers, all sorts of different sizes and shapes. But for the most part, I keep 1 or 2 in my bag at all times. If I fall in love with a sketchbook, I buy a bunch of them. And since I like to use a variety of mediums, I usually keep a cold pressed, a hot pressed, and a mixed media sketchbook in my bag at all times. I also have a mini drawing board that I cut down to size to give myself a more stable surface. So how much do you think this weighs? It clocks in at just about 3 kilograms, or around 6.5 pounds. And that's everything I need for a full day of plein air painting and sketching. But what about days when I have even less energy, or I'm just going for a quick walk around the neighborhood? That's where this super stylish bum bag comes in. I usually wear it like a shoulder bag, and I can swing it around the front to grab my supplies. I made sure to buy a waterproof one so that I didn't have to worry about my sketchbooks getting ruined when I get caught in the rain, which is quite common in Scotland. So for this kit, I have a pared down version of what I showed you before. This is my little Hanamula 4x6 inch gray paper sketchbook, which I've shown in some previous videos. And I'll just attach a few of my favorite utensils to the outside with this little brush clip, and I'll just choose 1 brush and 1 or 2 pens to bring with me. And for paint, I use the Portable Painter Micro. All of this can be held in my hand so I can stand and sketch, which is really convenient when I'm just doing quick walks. But most importantly, it's all very lightweight and easy to set up and put away super quick. None of this is set in stone, and I sometimes take out a completely different setup just for the heck of it, just to mix things up. Plus, I think I'm constantly evolving, and so my needs will change over time. For example, I no longer take my oil painting supplies outside. The main reason for that is because the way I like to work with oils is much bigger with palette knives, and I need a lot of mixing space, and I really like to take my time and layer things up and step away from it and come back to it after a while. It's just a totally different way of working. But I'll quickly show you my oil painting setup for those of you who are interested in that. And you can also find a bunch of oil painting plein air videos in my channel. I call this my big setup because it takes way more time and effort. Whether I'm painting with oils or gouache or whatever, a pochade box is really great for containing everything you might need for a painting session. Most of them have storage space inside, so you can just close it and go. I have 2 pochade boxes. One is quite large and weighs almost 6 pounds by itself. But it's an amazing kit, but I only use it when I'm car camping or painting near my car because I'm definitely not going to be hiking with this one. My smaller pochade box, and the one I use most often, is the Gorilla Painter 6x8 inch thumb box. This thing is so rugged. It weighs around 3.5 pounds or 1.7 kilograms, but let me tell you, this little guy has survived a lot over the years. I have dropped this thing down waterfalls and cliffs, and it has survived so much and protected my painting and supplies inside. And even though there are amazing pochade boxes on the market that I would love to try, it's just not worth investing so much money in a kit that I don't use very often. Because again, I am much more of a portable artist when I'm outside. But on the rare occasion when I know I'm going to be sitting in one spot for a while, having a pochade box is kind of nice to be able to set all your materials on and just have a more stable surface. So if you want to see a more recent video of this one in action, you can check out my video called My Authentic Plein Air Experience. And that video goes into a lot of the ups and downs of plein air painting, and particularly with gouache. First of all, if you found anything helpful in this video, I would really appreciate a thumbs up because that helps my channel grow. And if you want to see more, you can subscribe. But I'm going to end this video with a little Q&A. I asked on Instagram if anyone had any questions about the plein air setup in general, and I got quite a few, so let's go through them and I'll see what I can answer. Number 1, what do you do with your used paint water? This is a really good question because I think it's important to leave the land wherever you're painting, leave it as you found it, if not better. Ideally, you would bring your water home with you because depending on where you live, if you pour your water down your drain, it gets treated somewhere before it goes like back out into the environment. You can just save like old salsa jars or like anything that is small-ish and has a lid. I think they're all in the sink downstairs, but I'll find a clip of me painting outside with one of these little jars so you can see what I'm talking about. So if you've seen some of my videos about selecting my watercolors and gouache, you have seen my process for trying to choose the non-toxic colors, but it's actually easier than you think. And I've shared so much information about that in those videos. I'll put them a link in the description. So number 1 would be to reduce the toxicity in your kit. And then the second would be take it home with you. So using those little sealable jars, toss it in your bag. Even if I'm using my portable painter, so the water goes in here while I'm painting and cleaning my brushes and stuff, at the end I can just pour this into the little sealable jar and take it home. Next question, when do you decide to use an easel or pochade box? That, I guess, depends on the medium and how much time and effort I'm willing to put in. Like I said many times in this video, I'm a portable artist. I like to move a lot. I like to sit maybe for 5-10 minutes, sometimes an hour, but either way I try to paint multiple spots at any one location. So I don't want to be faffing around with like trying to set up my tripod and easels and all of the other stuff, in addition to the struggles I have with just like painting what I see outside. So it's much more rare these days. And if I'm car camping or have a spot I can park with a really beautiful view, sometimes I'll be like, yeah, I'll just set up my pochade box because I can just toss it into the car and leave really quick if I want to. And that used to be much more common when I did a lot of oil painting outside. But for the most part, I just don't bother with them, and yeah, I just paint on my lap. Another question, do you prefer to sit or stand? Definitely sit if I'm painting for more than a few minutes. Next question, I want to paint on my travels. Where do I start? If you're brand new to it, I would just say start with a very small kit. It doesn't have to be this, obviously. There's plenty out there. A small kit of a few colors, one sketchbook, one pen, one pencil. Keep things as simple as possible for yourself. When I started, I actually used postcard paper. So way back in the day, my first plein air painting sessions, I didn't have any clue what I was doing, but I went to the Denver Botanic Gardens and I just tried painting single elements instead of like jumping into trying to paint full landscapes. Like I just tried single things, like a few flowers, one flower, and slowly over time things started improving, but it took a long time. And I have lots of sketchbook tours if you want to go back and see like my first attempts at painting outside. I think probably my first sketchbook tour was the sketchbook I bought when I first started going out, and it was very confusing and intimidating, but I loved being outside and I loved painting, and I was just trying to be, you know, kind to myself and not put too much pressure on myself. So I just had a tiny little, I think it was a Winsor Newton Cotman travel set, so only a few colors and one brush, and yeah, postcard paper. That's it. Just go out, keep doing it as much as you can. Next question. What are the essentials to bring for plein air if you're a newbie? Just kind of like what I was saying, I think starting off really simple, as minimal as you can, because I remember when I first started, like, it was hard enough to make myself go out because I was so intimidated. And whenever I knew I had to like go collect all my stuff and try to figure out what to bring, I would psych myself out. So having the go bag, as I call it, with your supplies in it ready to go, and keep the supplies minimum, I'd say, because I think having more options in your backpack when you're first starting out might make it even more challenging, because then you're trying to just make a decision about what to use when you should be focused on what you're gonna paint. It's like that old marketing saying where if people have too many choices, they won't choose anything. So if you think about it from that mindset, give yourself less options and then you don't have to worry about choosing. It's set out for you. You know what you're gonna be using, you know what you're gonna be doing, and just do it. Remember that just do it meme? Just do it! Okay, I'll choose one more question. Tips on how to pack once done painting with wet paints and brushes to transport. So if you're using oil paint, pochade boxes sometimes have a little place inside them where you can slide the wet painting and it won't touch anything. Like my small Gorilla pochade box has that, and it's great. So then when I get home, I just take it out, set it somewhere to dry. Or there are really cool things like this that exist. This is a custom-made wet panel carrier by Colin Joyce, and his craftsmanship is amazing. And I saved up to get this. So you open it up and it has slots inside. And this one is made to fit 8x10 panels. So something like this, 8x10, thin board, just a panel, just something I painted outside a few years ago. Slides right in. So I can fit another painting in this slot back to back, and then two in each of these, so it carries a lot. You can find these all sorts of materials. There's much more lightweight ones than this, but this is more, I would use this if I was doing like car camping or like a big painting trip where I knew I was going to be near my car at all times, because I definitely wouldn't be hiking with something this heavy. And if you have wet oil painting brushes, toss those in a plastic bag, roll it up, put it in your bag, you're good to go. When it comes to wet medium like watercolor and gouache, like if I'm outside painting with my little sketchbook, because gouache dries so fast, you kind of just wait for it to dry and then you close your sketchbook and put it in your bag. Brushes, honestly, doesn't matter. Just throw those in the brush roll or in your backpack. As long as they're protected, doesn't matter if they're wet or not. If you're using 100% cotton paper, watercolor takes a little bit longer to dry, but just be patient if you can. I will literally walk around like this. My paper is open so that it can dry, and my palette is open so it doesn't like move, so the stuff inside doesn't move around. And I'm walking to the next spot, like open, don't care who sees, it doesn't matter. As long as I get to the next spot safely and I can set up and paint, who cares? So I guess, you know, have patience or just carry it. And occasionally I'll even just set this in my car open while I'm on my way home. It's drying in the back seat. Just, yeah, you just do what you gotta do. Okay, I think that's it. So now I'm gonna go edit this video because there's a lot going on. I'm gonna post it this Saturday, and then we're headed to the mountains for a few days of camping, and I'm very excited. And I'll be taking my plein air go bag with me for sure. So next week or maybe the week after, I will have some awesome mountain plein air adventures to share with you. Thank you for watching. I will see you all again soon. Take care.